Hey guys, welcome to video lesson 2.3 part B. This is the second part of a 4-part series. Today we'll be multiplying rational numbers. In particular, we'll be multiplying fractions. And since fractions are part of the rational number family, today we'll be looking specifically at fractions. So have your notebook ready, and we are going to make sure we meet our essential question: how can we use operations with rational numbers, and in this case, how can we use multiplication to multiply fractions? So here's example number 1. This is going to develop our key idea for the next 8 slides. So to multiply or divide rational numbers, use the same rule for the same signs, or the signs that we used when we multiplied integers. And in this example, if you take a look, the signs of the two fractions, I have one negative, I have one fraction. So before I even begin the problem, I know that my solution is going to equal a negative something. How do I know that? When my signs are different, my answer is negative. So here's the first piece of your key idea. Please be sure you write this down. When I multiply fractions, I'm going to multiply straight across, numerator times numerator, so I combine that to one fraction, and denominator times denominator, and I make that one whole fraction as well. So then I will simplify the numerator and the denominator to get negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, and 7 times 3 is 21. And you could also write this as negative to the left, and then 2 over 21. All right, so that's our key idea. This is what we're going to be doing for the next couple of slides. If you need your multiplication chart, please pause the video and get your chart out now. So we want to find 5 over 3 times negative 3 3/5. So the first thing we need to do is make this fraction here, this mixed number, we need to convert it to an improper fraction. So we have 5 over 3 times negative something. We will take 3 and multiply it by 5. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus 3. So 15 and 3 is 18. So we get 18 over 3. Keep the denominator the same. Now we're going to combine these into one denominator. Or we can do something called cross reducing. If you take a look at this 18 and this 3, let's assume for a minute I had 18 over 3. Can't I divide the numerator and the denominator both by 3 to get 6 over 1? Well, I can take a look at this 3 and this 18 and reduce them the same way. I can divide negative 18 by 3 to get 6. And I can take 3 and divide it by 3 to get 1. And I could also do the same thing to the opposite numbers. If I take a look at the 5 and the 5. Imagine for a second it was just 5 over 5. Can I divide both of those by 5 to get 1 over 1, or just 1? So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So my new fraction that I'll be multiplying is 1 times 6 over 1 times 1. And that equals 6 over 1, or simply 6. And if you look at your signs, I have a positive fraction times a negative fraction, so my final answer should be negative 6. For those of you who just watched this and hated the cross-reducing process, here is another way we can do the problem without cross-reducing. So we can do 5 over 3 times 3 times 5, 5 times 3 is 15, and 3 is 18 over 3, negative. So I'm going to get negative something over 9. Do you notice how much larger my numerators are? But we can still do it. So I get 90 my mistake. My denominator should stay 5. So we get 90 over 15. Thought that looked too easy. Okay, there we go. So now what we're going to do is just take 90 and divide it by 15. So those of you who don't know your 15 facts, 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. So if 15 times 2 is 30, 15 times 4 better be 60, and 15 times 6 better be 90. So my solution is 6. And again, I am dividing a negative by a positive, so my final solution is negative 6. So you can do it either way. If you do it this way without the cross reducing, you will have to simplify your final fraction. All right, here's a standardized test prep question. The question says, which number, when multiplied by a negative 5/3, gives you a product between 5 and 6? So real quick, remember, a negative times a negative equals a positive. So do you notice that the solutions they gave us are between positive 5 and positive 6? So I'm going to be multiplying by this negative times, am I going to multiply by a negative or a positive to get a negative, positive solution? So if I'm taking 5/3, I need to multiply by a negative number to get a positive solution. So my answer can't be D because D is already positive. I need a negative number to work with. So what we're going to do is use the guess and check and revise method. So this is pretty much explaining what I just told you. Since we know that the product is positive, the two factors have to be negative. So we're guessing. We're just going to take choice C. So if I do negative 1/4 times negative 5/3, I will get an answer of positive 5 over 12. Is that between positive 5 or positive 6? Hopefully you're saying no, the value here is not even worth 1 whole. Let's guess and check choice C and see what we come up with. So if we try C, I'm sorry, that was choice C. That's not between 5 or 6, so now let's go to choice B. So if we try B, I get negative 3 1/4 times 5 over 3 negative. If I make negative 3 1/4 into a mixed number or an improper fraction, I get 13 over 4 times negative 5 over 3. Rewrite it as 1 whole fraction, and I get negative 65 over 12, and then I have to reduce that. All right, we're going to need our 12 times tables. I know that 12 times 5 is 60 with 5 left over, so that would give me 5 and 5 over 12. 5 left over, added 12. So, in conclusion, I'm looking for a number that is between 5 and 6, and I believe we found it. So our solution is letter B. All right, we're going to evaluate negative 1/2 to the 3rd power. What does that mean? It means negative 1/2 once, negative 1/2 twice, and negative 1/2 3 times. The exponent tells you how many times we're going to be writing that number. So what we're going to do, we're going to rewrite this as 1 whole problem. So let's take our pencils, and our numerator is simply going to be negative 1 times 1, negative times negative 1. And our denominator is going to be 2 times 2 times 2. So we need to determine our sign. A negative times a negative equals a positive. A positive times a negative equals negative 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is simply 1. Here's where students will make a mistake. Most of you will say 6, but we're not adding 2 plus 2 plus 2. We're multiplying. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So our final answer is negative 1 over 8. In this example, we're just going to solve. I'm going to show you the cross-reduce method first. Take a look at 3 and 15. 3 and 15 share a common factor of 3. 3 divide 3, 1. 15 divide 3, 5. Now let's take a look at 8 and 10. 8 and 10 share a common factor of 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So let's rewrite the problem. We get negative 1 times negative 4 as a numerator, and in my denominator I get 5 times 5. So what we're going to do here is negative 1 times negative 4 is 4, and 5 times 5 is 25. So my final answer is 4 over 25. Next example. We have these last 5 left, and I believe we're at the end of our presentation. Please give these 4 questions a try on your own. Pause right now, and I will go over the solutions with you. So for this first example, we're going to multiply straight across. 2 times 2 is 4. 9 times 3 is 27. A negative times a positive is negative. So there's my solution to number 2. Next page. A negative times a negative is a positive. I can cross-reduce my 4's and divide them both by 4 to get 1. So if I rewrite the problem, I get 1 times 1 over 1 times 3, and I get a solution of 1 over 3. A negative times a negative equals positive, so my solution is 1/3. If you did not cross-reduce, let's see here. If you did not cross-reduce, your problem would look like this. It would look like negative 1 times negative 4 over 4 times 3, and we would get an answer of 4 over 12. You would divide numerator and denominator by 4 to get an answer of 1 over 3, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So either way, we get a solution of positive 1/3. Next page. We have 5 over 6 times negative 8 over 15. So I immediately know my solution is going to be negative because my signs are different. I'm going to cross-reduce. Let me rewrite this to make it bigger. I'm going to cross-reduce. I'm going to make the 5 a 1 because I'm dividing by 5. So 15 divided 5 is 3. 6 and 8 share a factor of 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my new problem is 1 times 4 over 3 times 3. 1 times 4 is 4, and 3 times 3 is 9. And back in the beginning, I decided that a positive times a negative is a negative. So my final solution is negative 4 over 9. And those of you who do not like to cross-reduce, 5 times 8, it's 40. And 15 times 6 is 90, negative, because my signs are different. And then I can divide by 10. You can actually just cross the zeros out. You're left with negative 4 over 9. Okay, next page. In our last example, we have a negative integer times a mixed number. So let's make the mixed number improper. So we get negative 2 over 1 times 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So I get negative 5 over 4. Rewrite this as one fraction. Negative 2 times negative 5 over 1 times 4. We get a solution of 10 over 4. Since my signs are both the same, my answer will be positive. And now we reduce. How many times does 4 go into 10? 2 times. And there's 2 left over. So my solution, 4 goes into 10 2 whole times. There's 2 left over out of 4. So 2 2/4. We reduce to 2 1/2. One more. Completely forgot about this one. Negative 1 2/3 to the third power means negative 1 2/3 3 times. Let's make this improper first so it'll be easier to work with. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So we have negative 5 over 3 once, negative 5 over 3 twice, and negative 5 over 3 3 times. All right, the unfortunate part about this problem is we can't cross-reduce anything here. So we just have to work with the numbers as they are. So negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative is negative. So my solution is going to be negative something. So 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So what we're going to do now is take this fraction, which is improper, and we're going to divide it. Remember, my solution again is going to be negative some fraction. So let's take our dividend 125 and divide it by our divisor 27. 27 can't go into 12, but it can go into 125 4 times. 4 times 27 is 108. 2 becomes a 1. The 5 becomes a 15. We get 17 left over. And at this point, actually, we could go to a decimal, but since we are working with fractions, we can leave our answer as a fraction. So our final solution looks as follows. 27 goes into 125, negative 4 whole times. There's 17 left over, add a 27. All right, we do not need to convert this to a decimal unless you're told to do so. All right, guys, congratulations. You've reached the end. Great work on sticking through it. Be sure you take complete notes and go to your video assessment next. Bye-bye.